What do we got?
Well, I have a piece of antique heirloom jewelry that my mother passed along to me. It was the signet ring of the mafia boss, Lucky Luciano.
This used to belong to Lucky Luciano?
That was made for Lucky Luciano. I've had it in hiding for 40 years.
Why would you have it in hiding?
Because this represents his authority. If anybody got possession of this piece, until now, there would have been bloodshed and war within the families. I decided to come to the pawn shop today to sell my ring that belonged to Lucky Luciano, one of the most notorious mafia dons that ever existed. It's a one-of-a-kind piece that has a lot of power and a lot of authority. They're going to want it not for its jewelry value, but because of its history.
So how did your mom get the ring?
There's an individual whose name I cannot use that gave this to my mother. My mother was a woman who did special services for these people because she had their personal confidence. These gentlemen trusted her with things that they couldn't trust anyone else. And she was given it to protect it and to protect them from fighting amongst themselves.
Okay. It'd be pretty interesting if it was his ring. I know he was involved in the killing of Bugsy Siegel. He was associated with Arnold Rothstein, the guy who fixed the 1919 World Series.
He's pretty much credited for making the mob what it is. He took more of a business aspect to it, where he was more like a crime CEO instead of just, you know, a thug. This guy started his first gang in New York when he was like a teenager. But basically, he grew to be the head of the entire Italian mob in the U.S.
If you look at the picture, that's the face of a devil. The rubies are set as the eyes, but there's even the tear. I mean, Luciano was a mobster. He killed people. I've been told by people, there's blood on that piece. Don't bring it here. I don't want to see it.
Okay. You got any paperwork on this?
You won't find any paperwork on it. I've gone to as many archives as I can come up with. I've checked with friends in the FBI. I had a person describe it to me over the phone, having never met me. And he said, oh, you mean that piece with the diamond for the heart and the rubies for the eyes? Guy had never met me before. And I said, you saw it? He goes, yeah, when I was a kid.
Since so many people are interested in mob legends, I think it's worthwhile getting some more info on this thing. If it really did belong to Lucky Luciano, it could be worth some huge money to the right collector. Have an idea what you wanted for it?
Gonna be 6 figures.
Besides buying it for scrap, I'd have to make sure that he actually owned it before I'd pay any more than that. Believe it or not, Las Vegas has a mob museum. I know the curator of it. This is the one guy that would actually know. So let me give him a call. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. If this person can show some way that this piece belonged to Lucky Luciano, I'd be the most fortunate person that ever was.
What's up, John?
The guys usually call me down to the pawn shop when they have a question about some kind of organized crime artifact.
This is it. Allegedly the ring of Lucky Luciano.
Wow. Lucky Luciano is a very big deal, organized crime. This guy immigrated from Sicily, grew up in New York City. I mean, he's really the guy who modernized organized crime. When he assumed power, he implemented the commission, a board of directors for these crime families. It was a way in which they could manage territories, resolve disputes, so that they could ultimately make lots more money.
Okay.
He was then imprisoned in 1937, given a 30 to 50-year prison sentence. He spent 10 years in prison. He was then released but deported back to Italy. Really interesting part of the story, the U.S. military turned to the mob to help out during World War II. It was through the mafia that connections were made back in Italy to pave the way for an Allied invasion. And through this cooperation, Lucky Luciano was able to secure his release. If this is Lucky Luciano's ring, you'd be looking at something that would be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of this ring?
Well, my mother had gotten the ring given to her by a person of authority who was connected to the mob families. I was told it probably was manufactured in the late 1800s, but I don't have any way of proving that.
Do you happen to have any photographs or letters that would establish a relationship between your mother and any of these organized crime figures?
Not truly.
You're the curator of the Mob Museum. I'm sure you've seen thousands of photos of Lucky Luciano. You ever see any of them with that ring or anything like that?
This particular design is not something that I'm familiar with. Considering all the information we have, unfortunately, I just don't think we can conclude that this is Lucky Luciano's ring.
Okay. It's just a story.
It's a great story.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan.
you have to have some kind of documentation to authenticate it. I mean, there's just no reason for us to think that this ring had any association to Lucky Luciano.
I think the piece is real.
At this point, I'd keep on doing some research. Maybe you can find a picture. Maybe you can find some evidence. But for now, there's nothing I can do. Okay, have a good one, man.
Thanks. I think that if I do a little more research, I'm actually going to prove the piece's authenticity, and I think I'm going to be able to get some real money for it eventually.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
What do we have here?
I have the original jail cell keys to Al Capone's cell.
At Alcatraz?
No, Cook County Jail.
All right. You should have brought him in like a birthday cake or something like that.
There was quite a few stories about Al Capone being housed there, being the mob boss of Chicago. I'd like to get anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. Not much less than that.
I got to admit, these looks like some really difficult locks to pick.
Yeah, you can't do it. Can't do it.
Which key went to his cell?
This is the main jailhouse key. There were two outer doors that this would open up, and then you went into the cell with the big door.
And where did you get him?
I had worked with an officer who was retiring. Al Capone was housed in the Cook County Jail, and he was Al Capone's personal jail guard. And he was there only for a few weeks because then he went to trial and then moved on to Atlanta Federal State Penitentiary.
Okay.
Back in the late 20s and the 30s, Al Capone ran Chicago.
Yeah, the only thing they could get him on was income tax evasion. And he killed a lot of people. But the fact was, he was Al Capone. No witness would come forward to convict him or anything like that. You wouldn't make it home that night. Al Capone was straight up nuts. But for some reason, people like him. And artifacts connected to him can be worth a lot of money. And how much did you want for him?
You know, I have like $1,500 in my mind.
They're really interesting. So you don't have any actual paperwork proving they're his keys?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I truly believe this person. He showed me where the cell was, but I have no.
Okay. If there's a way to prove that they were to his cell, we have no problem. If we can't, we're like 15 bucks a piece, so.
Nah, it's not gonna happen.
When we sell stuff, we have to certify what it is. I agree with you, these are probably from his cell, but we can't prove it. So we just can't take them, I'm sorry.
Thanks for coming in, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I was a little disappointed, but I do understand, you know, they have to be authenticated with paperwork. So I'm a little down on it.
Can I help you?
We can. Got a pistol in this 60mm movie that was shot in a pretty notorious speakeasy back in the 20s and 30s. The Capone mob hung out there, and in that movie here may be Babyface Nelson and Al Capone's girlfriend.
That's really, really cool.
My great aunt's basement was a speakeasy, and the video is of a party. The gun was found behind a booth. I would like to get around $3,000 based on that the Capone mob frequented the establishment.
So where was the speakeasy at?
It was in Chicago.
All right. The federal government actually thought about taking over Chicago because basically the entire city was ran by the mob. And the speakeasies immediately happened after Prohibition.
Why do they call them speakeasies?
Because basically, when you spoke to someone else about it, you spoke softly or spoke easy because it was illegal, you know? They always had code words that would let you in the front of the place. A lot of these places had gambling, ladies of the evening. Sounds like a fun place, huh?
Let's go.
When Prohibition started in 1920, alcohol was being sold all over Chicago by different organized crime gangs. This could be a really cool look into Prohibition-era Chicago. So what's on the VHS?
The VHS is actually just a copy of this 60mm movie.
Okay. I'm really intrigued to see what's on this tape.
You're gonna need a VHS player, Rick.
This is a pawn shop. I think we have one in the back. I'll be right back.
I'll be here.
I've been telling Rick to get rid of that old TV VHS for years now. But I guess you never know what's gonna come in handy at the pawn shop.
Look at that. Still works. Here we go. AGFA 1938. And obviously it's silent. Do you know where Babyface Nelson or any of those faces are on this tape?
I have no idea what frame they would be on, what part of the movie. And I don't know what these people look like.
Rick, be kind, rewind.
It's been a long time since I heard that. All right, first off, the gun. Well, you have an Otis Smith revolver. They stopped making guns right around 1880, I think-ish. There is a pistol that he makes that is worth a lot of money, but that's basically just a curiosity because it was all brass. This is not that one, and it's in really bad shape. The other problem with your film, Babyface Nelson is not on it. Babyface died in 1934, and right at the beginning of the film, it says 1938. It's interesting, but there's tons of stock footage like this already out there. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm not even gonna make you an offer. You really don't have anything marketable here.
So you won't offer anything on it?
I was hoping there was something on the movie, but there's just not.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in, though.
Sure. Have a good one.
John, give him his tape back and put the TV away.
I'm not sure whether the movie was taken or whether it was just developed in 1938. Since we weren't able to make a deal, I'll return it to my safe and give it to my son when the time comes.
The guys called me up and asked me to meet them here at Celebrity Cars for some sort of surprise. I don't know what I'm walking into, but these people have some of the most unique and cool cars in all of Vegas.
I really like all these cars, Rick.
So I grabbed my car expert, James, and we're gonna go and check it out. Whoa. Now this is a car. 1928 Cadillac V8. This is what a car should be. This was a car that was designed impressive and massive and create a statement cruising down the road.
It's too old.
Dude, it is so gangster, though. I mean, look at that hood ornament.
I have to admit, it does say gangster.
Hey, what's up?
It's actually Al Capone's car.
This was actually Al Capone's car.
We have extensive paperwork to show where this car came from and all the history on it.
Al Capone was one of the most famous gangsters in the 30s. He ran Chicago, and he controlled the judges. He controlled the cops.
Okay, you're talking about Al Capone and everything. I need you to tell me about this
Hold on
show.
a second, dude. I mean, appreciate it for a moment. We'll look at that in a minute. Just appreciate this car, okay? I mean, this is art.
Sometimes my dad gets distracted by the sound of his own voice.
This is the way metal should be laid out on a car. I mean, look at how big those tires are.
And you just kind of got to wait it out.
That's like an inch thick glass. That's all they had for bulletproofing back then. They don't make stuff like this anymore. How much you want for it?
$1 million.
So where's the car we came to look at?
A guy brought in some shell casings that he says were at the scene of John Dillinger's last crime. There's no way to tell if they're legit just by looking at them, so I called in Jonathan to help me out with this. This is the shell casings I was telling you about. 245s, a 38, and some random rifle casing from Dillinger's last heist that went really, really bad.
It did go bad, for some. I'm the executive director at the Mob Museum, which is the National Museum of Organized Crime and Law Enforcement. We specialize in artifacts, history, and stories of organized crime in the United States. So this is a great story. So the Merchants National Bank robbery in South Bend, Dillinger's last robbery before he was killed. Dillinger at the time, public enemy number one. I mean, this guy was as big as they come in terms of outlaws and real, this is real life Hollywood stuff. I mean, this is a guy who was in jail, busted out of jail twice. I mean, they knocked off banks between 1933 and 1934. Dozen-plus banks were robbed, robbed police stations to take guns and ammunition. I mean, it's amazing.
I guess that's where you would go.
Go where they keep the guns. But this was an amazing time period, 1933, 1934. I mean, this was, the Depression. People are somewhat sympathetic to the bank robbers. I mean, banks are not popular at that point in time. And the bank robbers had a real advantage, too, in terms of firepower, the speed of their cars. You know, they would go into these small towns and they'd do a job, and the police there would be no match for them. And in fact, it was this type of activity that really led to the FBI gaining all the powers that they did, because it was the only way to pursue these guys across state lines. John Dillinger was an outlaw. His claim to fame, so to speak, was as public enemy #1. By some accounts, John Dillinger was a little bit of a Robin Hood type of figure. So Rick, what are your concerns about these cases?
Well, my concerns is we have 4 showcases in a baggie and a newspaper article that's 57 years after the fact. So, are these the shells or not?
Well, so the 245s, those could make sense. I mean, they could be either for a revolver or a Thompson submachine gun. They'd use weapons where they could penetrate vests. I mean, that was one of the things that was very important to them. This one looks like it could be a .35 caliber rifle cartridge, which one of the gang members, Homer Van Meter, was reported to have used that type of rifle. And from what we know about that bank robbery, might have been stationed outside with that rifle. So that could also make sense.
Okay, so is it real?
What we could do is we could take a look at the casings and the markings on the casings and see if we can gather any information that might give an indication of what time period they're from. Be able to get back to you with some more information about them.
Okay, well, is that all right with you?
Sure.
Okay, I gotta get to work.
Great.
And give me a call, and I'll call him, and we'll get everything figured out.
Sounds good.
Great, thanks a lot, man. Sometimes when you're dealing with something as rare and unique as this, you just need more time. But if they are from John Dillinger's last robbery, I want them. So now I'm gonna sit here with my fingers crossed while Jonathan tries to figure this out.
Here's what we know. So let's start with the .35 caliber.
Okay.
It's an old case. Certainly has the appearance of being an old case. You can see on the underside, if you were to turn it over, it says REM UMC. That reflects back in 1912, Remington and Union Metallic Cartridge Company merged, and you had that head stamp from 1912 up until 1960. The other casings do not have quite the same aged appearance to them when you take a look at it. They are old. There's no question about that. You know, based on the stamp, said Western 45 Auto, is an old stamp. That one's you know, a little bit troubling. If you take a closer look at the underside, you'll see this red primer sealant. The red primer sealant and the nickel plating would typically be from a more recent shell. The bottom line with this, the newspaper article, the markings on the casings, it's a wonderful story. There's nothing about the characteristics of these cases that we've been able to determine that would indicate that they come from that crime scene.
So what you're saying is there's no proving or disproving this?
No.
All right, thanks, Jonathan.
You got it. Thanks. So even if those casings were used by the Dillinger gang, there's nothing to be extracted off of those casings. You can't pull fingerprints or DNA. It's a wonderful story, but there's just no way to establish fact.
Yeah, the reason I wanted Jonathan to look at him is to figure out some way we could prove it. Sure. This is the hard thing in the world when you have just one piece of paperwork that's 50-some years after the fact. It's generally not enough. You know, they very well could be. They really could. But the problem is I can't put them in my showcase and put a price tag on them and say most likely from.
Thanks very much. You too. I know Bob Ehlers, my son's great-grandfather, was at the scene. I know he collected those bullets. I know we've had them in the family since. That is the authenticity factor for me.
I wanted to know if you, by any chance, have any old Nevada prison tokens for sale.
Not at the moment.
Okay, let me flip it around. How would you like to buy some old Nevada prison tokens? They're very hard to find.
You know what? I don't have any plans of going to jail in my life, so.
Okay. What makes these prison tokens really special is that Nevada had a casino that operated inside the maximum security prison. To my knowledge, that didn't happen anywhere else in the United States but Carson City, Nevada. I'm walking in with $1.41 face value in old Nevada prison tokens, and I'm hoping to walk away with a lot more than that.
They're pretty rare, considering that you pretty much had to go to prison between the 1930s and 60s to be able to have access to them.
Right.
You know, the last thing they wanted you to have in there was cash. But the funny thing is, in Nevada history, to operate a table game, you are not allowed to be a felon. They somehow had a casino in the prison that was ran exclusively by felons. And it worked. The guy who was operating the table, he could then take these and go spin them throughout the prison, chewing gum, or I'm sure somebody was taking these for toilet wine he was taking.
This is just a little documentation, just kind of shows, you know, what the inside of the casino looked like.
Wow. It looks like they actually even got one of the old craps tables out of the Sands, if you look at it. It says Sands on it. You know, the inmates look like they're having a good time.
Better than breaking rocks, jeez.
The casino at the Nevada State Prison is just legendary. Where else in the world would a bunch of criminals get to run a legitimate gaming place? And they got away with it for over 3 decades. How much money you want for them?
I'd like to get about $850 for the stack.
I don't have a doubt in my mind that I could sell them. I think $850 is just way off, man. We're way far apart on what I'm willing to pay.
$900?
I was thinking more around the range of $400.
Ooh. Well, I'm gonna need you to do better than $400. I mean, honestly, these are really tough to find. This guy right here, there's probably only 5 on the planet.
Okay.
And these, I figure, are easily $100, $125 each.
I'll go $450.
How about 6.5? I mean, in your shop, being in Nevada, you would have a perfect place because no one else is going to have these.
$500 is the best I can do, buddy.
Let's go ahead and do it.
All right, man, deal.
All right.
Meet me over there.
I'm walking away today with $500, and I'm going to put this in the vacation fund and take my wife to Maui.
Earlier today, a guy called, said he's got a ball and chain. And since I'm not an expert in that field, I called my buddy Mark, who is. So this is the ball and chain you called me about.
Yep. I'm an expert in police memorabilia and restraints. I've been collecting police memorabilia for about 25 years now.
So why do you want to get rid of it?
Well, actually, I just got married a couple weeks ago, and I don't need it anymore. I got the real thing at home. The reason I'm interested in selling this thing is I have no use for it. Plus, it's really heavy. I don't want to lug it around the country all my life. About a year ago, I was doing a remodel, and the homeowner was going to toss it out. I thought it was pretty cool, so I took it home, and a year later, had nothing to do with it, nowhere to put it.
So, Mark, what do you think?
Well, this was pretty much used by the prison system. So ball and chains are found mainly in the United States, typically in the South, where the chain gangs were prevalent. They'd attach it to their prisoner so they could let the prisoner get outside of the prison yard to do farming or road work, or didn't want to take the chance of them escaping.
This was good behavior? This thing is wild. I can just imagine those poor guys on the side of the road wearing their striped uniforms, dragging around a pickaxe, and this thing on their leg. It must have been hell.
In identifying a fake one, the first thing you want to look at is the chain. The chain will be modern, welded.
Okay.
99% of all ball and chains that you'll see are faked. There's very few examples that have existed, and most of them are in private collections. This one has the old heat and beat method. Links were probably very hot and hammered into the shape and then hammered shut.
This thing is incredible. There's 40 or 50 links in this chain, and every single one of them was hand forged. Nowadays, you just walk in the hardware store, give me 3 feet of that.
So I can tell that this is an authentic piece. I'm going to date it somewhere between 1920 and 1940. It was manufactured by a company called Tower, which was the Ford of handcuffs and leg irons.
So how much is it worth?
I'd estimate somewhere between $650 and $750.
Okay. Thanks for coming in, Mark. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now that I know this is real, I really want to try and buy it. It's a really interesting item. It looked really cool in my shop. And I can put it on Chumley and make sure he stays at work. You know what? I'm going to make this real plain and easy and simple and $400 and not a dime more.
$450?
$400. How often do I have someone walking in here asking for a ball and chain? Not real often.
All right, $400 it is. I never thought this thing was going to be worth that much money or any money at all, so I'm pretty stoked that, I got $400 out of it.
What do we got? These are some vintage hand restraints. I have several pieces. I want you guys to look at.
Wow. Are you just into some really kinky stuff, or?
Yeah, man, I'm kinky, all right. I like to sell my handcuff collection today to do some much-needed remodeling for my house. I bought my collection over the years because they were unique, and now they're highly collectible. I would like to get $12,500 for this collection. My bottom line will be $7,500. I was a correctional officer in my career. I've just been picking them up for the last 20, 25 years. These are single-hand restraints, or commonly called a come-along. If you were handcuffed behind the back and a prisoner was bucking, then you would use one of these devices to help him get to where you need him to go.
Yeah, this was back when a handcuff was more of a torture device than a hand restraint.
Exactly.
Technically, they're supposed to be used so you can't move your hands.
Right.
These, they'd put this on one hand, and if you move, they just snap your wrist.
Exactly.
Much, right? So you just take this one
and just slap it on.
Twist this thing.
No, don't you dare do that.
Come here. Get over here right now. Get over here.
Just that little bit hurt, man. How old are some of these?
This one patented 1894. The Pratt combinations, the first model came out 1916.
They almost all kind of look like corkscrews a little
Almost.
bit.
Yeah, that one hurt. And then if you weren't satisfied with you twist it.
Yeah, I could see how that could be really effective there.
Oh, yeah. This was one of my favorites.
These old handcuffs are pretty cool and more than a little creepy. Before modern handcuffs came out, there was all kinds of torture devices, and I certainly wouldn't want to be restrained in any of them. How many do you have altogether?
I would say there's about 80 pieces in here.
Okay. How much are you looking to get out of them?
I'm looking to get $12,500.
Okay. You got a lot of pieces here, man. Do you mind if I have a buddy of mine come down and just kind of take a look of them?
Who are you calling in?
He's a magician.
Magician?
And he has a humongous collection of handcuffs.
Oh, okay. Why not? A second opinion is always welcome. They need to be informed on what these are and how rare they are.
So here's why we called you up here, Murray. We want to watch you get out of one of these.
Really? The reason they called me is because I'm a massive collector, and these handcuffs are extremely collectible because they don't make them anymore. Oh, you got a whole bag full.
Correct.
This collection looks really cool. This is a policeman's hook.
Correct.
1884. That's a really rare item. And then you have a Malcolm here. These are basically the old version of a taser. If you had these around someone's wrist, you could take them down to their knees instantly. It actually twists and actually puts pressure on the person's wrist.
Correct.
You know what I really want to do is I want to have a look through the bag that you have all the stuff in.
Oh,
Is that okay?
absolutely, yeah.
All right.
Sure.
You really have a lot of stuff here, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. We got all these chain nippers. Whoa. All right.
So what kind of weird dungeon do you have in your house?
No dungeon, just a game room, entertainment.
I hate to get entertained by you.
It's definitely entertaining.
So give me an idea. What do you think all of it could be worth?
These are very collectible. I mean, this is the Pratt Model 1. This one, Houdini did actually have in his collection. There's only 700 of these made in the world. That's it.
Wow.
I mean, these alone are between $700 and $1,000 each. I would say this collection would be worth very close to $10,000.
I see at least 12, 5, 13 in it.
That's piecing it out one by one, though. If you want to sell this whole collection, it takes a certain buyer.
All right, Murray, man. I appreciate
All right.
it, buddy.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck. Pleasure meeting you, man. This is an
Pleasure meeting
awesome
you.
collection,
Sure
all right?
thing.
I'm glad Murray was able to tell us how rare these restraints actually are. They're definitely worth more than their weight in scrap metal, but selling them piece by piece can take a long time. You're asking 12, Murray says 10. You know, who knows what I'm gonna get out of them selling each one of these one by one. What's the least amount of money you're gonna take for them?
9. There's some rare pieces in here.
You know, it took you 20 years to get this collection. You know, I'd hate to see it take me 20 years to sell this.
It. Oh, it won't take you 20 years.
Would you go 7,500?
81 with the keys.
All right, man, you got me. 81.
81.
All right, Joe.
Thank
you
you.
want to write them up?
All right.
$8,100 is going to get me a new kitchen. And if I got the money, I'll start all over.
Got something I think you might be interested in.
A poster, right?
You know, it's something a little bit better and different than that. This is the original blueprint of the electric chair from the Joliet State Prison in Stateville.
Okay, that's definitely more interesting than a poster.
This was a brand new thing for the state of Illinois, so sometimes they had inmates help them do it, or they had their staff build that chair. I would like 5,000. If that's not possible, maybe 1,800.
So where in the world did you get this?
Well, back in the 1970s, I worked at the county jail for a few years. One of the old-timers there who was retiring took a liking to me as a rookie and gave me this. The Joliet State Prison was part of Cook County back then in 1925 when they opened up.
Okay, so there were some Chicago mob guys in there, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Over the past, 120 years, the electric chair is probably one of the more interesting things to be invented. You know, most places have switched out the electric chair for the gas chamber or lethal injections. People seem to think it's a little bit more humane, but how would you know unless you ever been put in one?
Is this electric chair still at the prison?
It still exists, except it's all bricked up. August 24th, 1962 was the last time in the state of Illinois that they executed anybody. And they bricked it up, hoping that maybe the state would change their mind and have it come back.
Yeah, it's been a controversial issue, whether the state has the right to actually kill somebody. I mean, there's people out there that will say if murder's illegal, the state can't murder you, no matter how bad of a guy you are. And then there's plenty of people out there that believe, there's just some people that are such they deserve to die. I'm sure collectors would be all over these blueprints. If this is an original and not something that was mass printed, it might be pretty special. How much do you want for it?
I'm looking at 5.
500?
5,000.
5,000.
Whoa.
Okay, do you mind if I give a buddy of mine a call?
Who would that be?
It's my buddy Mark, Clark County Museum guy. He's pretty much knows everything there is to know about everything.
Sure.
All right.
I have no problem with them calling in another person to look at them. He's going to see that they are real and they are the originals.
So what do you know about electric chairs?
I wouldn't sit in one.
Can you read the blueprints to one?
Yes. Oh, it's Stateville. Okay. There are only 3 electric chairs in the entire state. One of them was at Stateville, which is the state penitentiary. Joseph Reagan, he was the warden at that point. He didn't like to do executions. He didn't believe in executions. So he always appointed one of his staff, a deputy, to actually turn on the juice, as it were. The electric chair does still exist today. There are a few states that still have it as a primary means of execution. There are a number of states where it is available if the criminal being executed asks for it. But in most cases throughout the United States, most states have gotten rid of it. One of the things I think is kind of interesting about these, they tried to make them at least a little bit comfortable. You had actually different ways of restraining you. You have a padded seat that can be removed. The back here can be moved so that you can lean back more or less. There was an odd nod to comfort on that when it was going to be utilized.
How common are these things?
You can find blueprints in books, in histories of executions in the United States, things like that. They've been reproduced. But to find a first-generation print, that's unusual. I can say that looking at this, the paper is right, the age is right. This is real. This would be a first-generation blueprint for the electric chair.
Okay. Well, thanks, Mark.
Not
Appreciate
a
it.
problem.
See you later.
And
Thank you, sir.
you wouldn't think that there'd be a collector's market for devices like the electric chair, but there are. It's kind of nice to see a single design that's original to the time period.
So how much were you looking to get out of it?
I would like to get about $5,000 for it.
That's a little much. If it said Edison anywhere on here, you'd be looking at $5,000 all day long. The fact that it doesn't, it makes it worth a little bit less. So I'd like to offer you around $800 for it.
No.
Are you willing to come down at all?
I'm willing to come down to about 22.
Realistically, after I spend some money on it, I could probably get 3. Could you go 1,000?
$16.
1,500.
Get a deal.
All right, good. Sean, you want to write them up?
Sure, grab the plans and I'll meet you at the front.
His offer for $800 was just out of the question. It just didn't seem reasonable, especially when they're authentic. It's less than I was hoping for, but it's better than nothing, and I'm happy with that.
So what do we got here?
This is a death row solitary jail door. This came out of, I was told, the old Ely jail in northern Nevada. I bought it from a Western collector about 20 years ago.
Okay, not easy to carry around. You've been moving this thing around with you?
I do.
And what's this weigh?
It feels like about 500 pounds if you're moving it by yourself.
Okay.
I have a death row door that I'd like to try to sell today. This door sits in my living room. It's a little bit of a conversation piece. Friends come over, look at it, and I'm hoping to sell the door for $2,000.
It's definitely interesting. In the 1860s, you had a huge silver rush in Nevada. With that kind of money came that kind of crime. So they had to build Nevada State Prison in 1862, and that's where we put our death row for a long time. They ended up closing it in 2012, basically because it was so old. And the only thing that remained there was the death row till about 2016. That's when it was brought to Ely. That's our Supermax prison now. So what makes you think it was a death row door?
That's what the gentleman I bought it from said it came out of. He said a death row door, solitary confinement door, and that this was just pieces and portions of the old Ely jail.
Did he give you any paperwork or anything like that with it at all, or?
No, I just had to go by his word.
I'm looking at it, and yeah, we got a lot of weird things here. I mean, did you paint it? Did he paint it? What happened with it?
When I got it, this side was the natural patina, and I just tried to replicate it to the original hammer coat that would have been on it back then, and I left the other side with the original patina.
So what are you looking to do with it?
Well, I was thinking about possibly selling it.
Any idea what you're looking to get out of it?
It's something that you don't quite see on the market often. I'd like to get about $2,000 for it.
Okay. I mean, as interesting as it is, man, I have to tell you, I really don't think I have a use for it. I mean, it's big, it's heavy, it's bulky, and I really don't know where you got it or what it was used for. I mean, for all we know, it could have been used to dispense medication out of inside a jail. I mean, it's a big, heavy metal door. And I really don't want to have to keep moving this thing around the shop. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to pass. I appreciate you bringing it down, though.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, did not get an offer today on the door, which is fine. I'll just keep it in the collection for another 20 years, and we'll put it back in the living room.